My alien bride held my hand. I'm yours, human, guide me. HFY Sci-Fi Story. The station floated in silence near a dying blue star, its light soft and cold as it reflected off metal walls and glass corridors. This place had been chosen because no single species could claim it. It belonged to diplomacy, to fragile peace, and to moments that could change history. Commander Elias Ward stood still inside the main assembly chamber. He wore a simple human uniform, clean and undecorated. Around him were beings from dozens of worlds, tall ones with glowing eyes, small ones covered in fur, others made of crystal or flowing light. Their voices mixed into a low hum of alien languages. Elias kept his posture calm, even though he felt the weight of every gaze on him. Humans were new to the galaxy, too new. Many believed they did not belong here yet. Elias was not chosen because he was powerful or famous. He was chosen because he listened. Earth's leaders believed listening was humanity's greatest strength. Elias had survived wars, first contact crises, and long years of negotiation. He knew when to speak and when silence mattered more. At the center of the chamber, a circular platform slowly rose. The hum of voices faded. Light shifted as ancient holographic symbols formed above the platform, glowing with deep violet and silver colors. Elias recognized them from briefings. They belonged to the Velari Dominion. The Velari were old, older than most known civilizations. Their cities were said to be built before humanity had discovered fire. Their laws were strict, their culture proud, and their emotions carefully controlled. They rarely changed their ways, and when they did, the galaxy noticed. A tall Velari woman stepped onto the platform. Her form was elegant and unfamiliar, smooth pale skin with faint patterns that shimmered like starlight, eyes dark and thoughtful, movements slow and deliberate. She wore ceremonial robes that marked her as nobility. This was Lady Salith. Elias had seen her image before, but standing here she felt different, real, burdened. The Velari Council spoke through a shared voice, calm and echoing. Our people face a division that cannot be healed by tradition alone. The old paths no longer guide us through the future. He also knew the next part would decide everything. The Velari have chosen a guide. Others looked offended. A human. Lady Salith stopped in front of Elias. She looked at his face, studying him not as a symbol but as a person. Elias met her gaze without flinching, though his mind raced. This was not in any plan humanity had prepared for. She raised her hand. It trembled slightly, a small motion that only someone standing this close could notice. "I am Salith of the Velari," she said, her voice clear but soft. "I have studied your species." Elias did not speak right away. He knew every word mattered now. He was aware of cameras, recordings, and a billion interpretations forming across the galaxy. "I do not claim ownership," he said carefully, "and I do not seek control. Not above." "You are calmer than expected," she said at last. "I learned long ago that panic solves nothing," Elias replied. She considered this. "Among my people, calm is often mistaken for certainty. I do not feel certain. Our traditions kept us strong for centuries, but now they hold us still while the galaxy moves." The ship assigned to them was Velari in design, smooth, organic lines, almost grown rather than built. Elias felt like a guest in someone else's dream. During the voyage, they spoke often, not of politics at first, but of lives lived under pressure. Elias spoke of Earth's mistakes, of wars humanity barely survived, of choosing cooperation because extinction was the only other option. Salith spoke of expectations, of being trained from childhood to never show doubt, of leading people who feared change more than collapse. "You do not hide your weaknesses," she observed. "We learned that pretending strength doesn't make it real," Elias replied. When they arrived, the Velari homeworld rose beneath them like a living jewel. Cities of light and crystal spread across the surface. It was beautiful, but Elias sensed tension beneath the beauty. The council welcomed them with formality but not warmth. Some Velari watched Elias with open distrust. Human influence spreads quickly, their silence seemed to say. Salith felt it too. Her shoulders stiffened as she faced her people. Over the following days, Elias observed more than he spoke. He attended councils where decisions took weeks that could have been made in hours. He saw laws enforced because they had always been enforced, not because they still worked. Salith watched him watching. Slowly she began asking questions in meetings, small ones at first, why a certain policy existed, who it truly helped. The reactions were immediate: discomfort, resistance. "You bring disorder," one council member said coldly. "No," Salith replied, "I bring awareness." "Guide me," she said again, but this time it was not a command or ritual, it was a request. "Then listen to your people," Elias said, "not just their leaders, walk among them, hear what they fear." Far above the city, unseen by either of them, signals moved through deep space, messages sent by those who feared this bond and what it might become. The galaxy was already reacting, and this was only the beginning. The Velari homeworld never truly slept. Its cities glowed softly through long night cycles, light flowing through crystal towers like slow-moving rivers. From high above it looked peaceful. From the ground, Elia's ward could feel the tension in every careful step, every measured greeting. Since arriving, Elias and Salith had become the center of quiet attention. Not the loud kind filled with protests or arguments, but the dangerous kind, watchful, patient, waiting for a mistake. Elias walked beside Salith through a wide public plaza. Velari citizens moved around them, pretending not to stare, but their eyes followed every motion. Some bowed their heads to Salith, others turned away. "She has changed," their silence seemed to say, "and the human is the reason." "We can return." 3 cycles, Lady Salith. Requests were submitted, but approval takes time. No noble had ever questioned classifications before. Elias said nothing, he only watched. Later that day, Salith ordered the repairs to be completed immediately. It was a small decision, but word spread fast. In the council chamber, reactions were sharp. "You bypassed procedure," one elder said. "I corrected delay," Salith replied, "because the human advised you. Because I observed reality." She listened to merchants struggling with outdated trade laws. She listened to young Velari who feared a future with no room for them. She listened to elders who believed change meant collapse. Each night, she and Elias spoke privately. "You make things sound simple," she said once. "They are not simple," Elias replied. "But they are often clear once you stop pretending they are sacred." Others claimed humans were manipulating her for influence. Beyond Velari space, those whispers turned into messages. Far across the stars, rival powers watched carefully. They had tolerated humanity's rise because humans were small in number and divided in influence. This bond changed that. A human guiding an ancient civilization was not acceptable. Trade routes began to slow. Ship inspections became stricter for human vessels. Accusations appeared in diplomatic channels, subtle but sharp. Humans were overstepping. Humans were interfering. Humans were dangerous. Elias received daily updates from Earth. Leaders urged caution but did not pull him back. They understood the stakes. If humanity retreated now, it would confirm every fear. One evening, Salith stood on a high balcony overlooking the capital. The air shimmered with faint light. Elias joined her. "They are preparing something," she said. "You feel it too?" Elias asked. "Yes, my people are not openly hostile, but fear spreads quietly." "Do you regret accepting the bond?" "No species survives alone for long. This human weakens you. If my presence causes harm, I will leave. Judge my actions, not my guide." "Pressure reveals structure," Elias replied. Velari defense forces prepared, slow but precise. Human fleets, small and fast, moved quietly into supporting positions. They did not announce themselves. They did not threaten. They waited. When the first external interference began, cyber intrusions, trade blockades, destabilizing broadcasts, humans responded with speed. Not violence, but clarity. False data was exposed. Attacks were traced and revealed to the wider galaxy. The message was simple: humans do not hide. Other species began to pay attention. Inside Velari society, citizens noticed too. Supplies stabilized. Communications improved. Decisions happened faster. Life felt less heavy. Salith addressed her people openly for the first time, not from a ceremonial hall but from a public square. "I am not certain," she told them. "I am learning, and I will make mistakes." Something stronger, trust, far beyond the planet, forces that had hoped for collapse reconsidered. Humanity had not pushed. Humanity had stood firm, and the galaxy was beginning to understand something dangerous. Humans did not conquer with strength alone. They changed the rules by refusing to play the old game. The storm was coming. But now, Salith and Elias would face it together. The pressure did not arrive all at once. It came in pieces, like cracks spreading slowly through stone. Trade convoys meant for the Velari arrived late or not at all. Navigation data shared between systems began to show errors that favored certain rival powers. News streams across the galaxy questioned the wisdom of trusting humans, repeating the same doubts again and again until they felt true to those who heard them often enough. On the Velari homeworld, life continued, but unease grew. People spoke more quietly in public spaces. Some avoided Salith's gaze when she passed. Others watched her with new hope, as if waiting to see whether she would stand or fall. Elias Ward felt the shift clearly. Humans had learned to recognize this kind of pressure early in their history. It was not war yet. It was the shaping of the field before the first strike. In a secure chamber beneath the capital, Velari and human analysts shared information. Holographic displays showed fleet movements near Velari borders. None crossed the line, but their presence was obvious. "They want us to react badly," Elias said calmly. "A show of force would satisfy them," a Velari commander agreed. "But it would also justify escalation." He chose his words with care. "We would prepare quietly, protect what matters most, and make sure that when the truth comes out, it comes out clearly." That humans had brought danger with them. During a closed session, one elder stood and spoke plainly. "Sever the bond, remove the human, the pressure will ease." He could feel the strain in Salith's posture. Leadership was taking its toll. That night, Elias requested a private meeting with her. They stood in a quiet observation room, stars drifting slowly beyond the transparent wall. "It's getting worse," Salith said, "for both our peoples. Your ships, your trade, your reputation. Guidance only works if it is freely accepted." "The symbolic bond exists to support stability," he said. "If my presence undermines that goal, I will withdraw from all advisory roles." Some saw this as proof of human sincerity. Others believed it was a trick. Salith stood slowly. The chamber fell quiet. "He offered to leave," she said, "not because he was asked, but because he respects our choice. I choose it." Human ships responded instantly. Small, fast, and precise, they slipped into key positions, reinforcing weak points without announcing themselves. Human cyber teams isolated false signals and traced their origins, recording everything. Elias worked without pause, coordinating between species, translating intent as much as data. "This is not an invasion," he told Salith as reports streamed in. "It's a test. They want chaos." Not because they were stronger, but because they were coordinated. Human pilots flew support missions at great risk, covering Velari fleets as they repositioned. Some human ships were damaged. Some were lost. Earth did not order them to retreat. Humanity had made its choice. In the middle of the crisis, Salith addressed the galaxy. Her image appeared across public channels, not polished or ceremonial but real. "This conflict was not chosen by us," she said. "It was invited by fear. Nor will I reject allies who stand with us when it is costly." Ships pulled back. Trade resumed cautiously. The storm had passed, but the cost was visible. Elias walked through a repair bay where damaged human ships were being restored alongside Velari vessels. Crews from both species worked together without ceremony. Salith joined him. "They thought you would cling to power," she said quietly. "We learned not to," Elias replied. She looked at the human crews. "You were willing to leave." One elder spoke, voice measured. "The bond did not weaken us. Not as necessity, as choice." The air felt lighter, as if the weight of weeks of tension had lifted just enough to allow people to breathe again. Yet Elias Ward knew better. Calm was often the pause before the next challenge. Salith walked beside him on the main thoroughfare, her hands loosely folded behind her back. Citizens passed them with curious glances, some bowing, others smiling quietly. There was no fear now. There was hope, but hope, Elias knew, needed guidance to survive. "You have changed this world," he said softly, not as praise but as observation. Salith shook her head. "I only walked where people needed to be heard. You showed me how." Instead, there was steadiness, the kind that inspired confidence without demanding it. Their journey from outsiders to partners had been perilous. Rival powers still watched, but the attempts at disruption had failed. Through careful observation, decisive action, and the quiet strength of partnership, they had turned threats into lessons. The Velari people now saw not just a foreign advisor but a human capable of understanding and respecting them. "Are they finally convinced?" she asked. Elias glanced at the plaza. People were talking, moving freely, children playing under soft artificial lights. "Some," he said. "Others will take longer, but perception changes slower than reality." "I have learned that too. Leadership is not about pleasing everyone. It is about guiding them toward the truth, even when it is uncomfortable." Messages of acknowledgement and support poured in, some tentative, some enthusiastic. Humanity's reputation had shifted overnight. They were no longer seen as reckless newcomers. They were allies capable of meaningful partnership. "This is unexpected," Salith said, eyes scanning the streams of messages. "Not really," Elias replied. "Humans have always thrived in situations where others underestimate them. The key is to remain consistent." She restructured administrative procedures, allowing feedback from ordinary citizens to reach decision-makers. Trade regulations that had hindered commerce for decades were revised. Educational programs encouraged critical thinking rather than rote memorization. Every change was deliberate, subtle, and designed to empower rather than dominate. Elias guided her quietly, offering perspective when asked, listening when not. He never imposed his will. He simply ensured that choices were informed and deliberate. Slowly, the culture began to adapt, not abandoning tradition but integrating flexibility where rigidity had caused harm. The council observed these changes with mixed feelings. Some embraced the progress, seeing the benefit of a more adaptive leadership. Others remained skeptical, believing the influence of a human could erode Velari identity. Yet even the skeptics could not deny the results. Efficiency improved, morale rose, and external threats were managed with unprecedented coordination. One evening, Salith and Elias attended a ceremonial gathering to honor contributions to the city's reconstruction. It was intended as a formal event, but it became a subtle celebration of unity. Citizens shared stories of human and Velari cooperation, of lives saved through collaboration, and of confidence restored in the face of fear. The atmosphere was one of mutual respect rather than obligation. Salith stood before the assembly, her voice calm but clear. "Change is not given, it is earned. We learn from our mistakes, from our allies, and from the courage to see things differently. We move forward together." Elias observed quietly, knowing that leadership, like trust, was built gradually, through action more than words. As the ceremonial lights dimmed, Elias and Salith walked back to their quarters. Silence accompanied them, comfortable and reflective. Neither needed to fill it with conversation. The weight of shared experience was already present between them. "You have guided me, but not by telling me what to do," Salith said finally. "You reminded me of the strength I had forgotten. And you have not only guided me, You have shown my people what humanity can offer: patience, insight, and a willingness to act when others hesitate. The communication was brief but formal, acknowledging the successful stabilization of the Velari homeworld and commending both Elias and Salith for their cooperation. The message expressed gratitude and recognition of the bond that had proven essential to the outcome. Elias absorbed the message in silence, then turned to Salith. "Recognition is not the goal," he said. "The goal is the lives and trust we preserved." Educational exchanges allowed students from both species to learn from each other, broadening perspectives that had been narrow for centuries. Elias noticed that the subtle acts of influence, suggestions, questions, quiet observations, were now being continued by Salith independently. She no longer relied on his guidance constantly. Instead, she integrated it, using it as one tool among many in shaping her society. One day, as they walked along a terrace overlooking the main city, Salith paused. "Do you ever regret coming here? And yet we could have failed." Citizens began their daily routines, moving with a quiet optimism that had been absent weeks before. Salith turned to Elias. "I asked you to guide me. Now it feels as if we guide each other." Just two individuals from different worlds, standing side by side, recognizing that partnership and trust were stronger than any law or tradition. Beyond the city, observers in distant systems updated their records. Reports noted the stability of Velari society, the effectiveness of human-Velari cooperation, and the example set for interspecies relations. Humanity's reputation shifted again, not as brash newcomers, but as collaborators capable of guiding and learning from others without imposing dominance. Salith and Elias continued their work quietly, knowing the galaxy was watching. Challenges would come, as they always did, but the foundations were set. Citizens understood that change was possible. Leaders understood that collaboration brought strength, and both humans and Velari recognized that the most enduring influence was earned, not commanded. One evening, standing on the highest terrace of the capital, Salith took Elias' hand. This time, it was not ceremonial. It was a gesture of trust and mutual respect, symbolizing the bond they had forged through hardship, choice, and shared purpose. The stars beyond the terrace stretched endlessly, silent witnesses to the achievements of two civilizations learning to move together. Elias felt the quiet satisfaction of knowing that humanity had done what it often did best: face uncertainty with courage, act with integrity, and inspire others to do the same. "This is not the end," Salith said softly. "No," Elias agreed, "but it is a beginning we create together." Trade, knowledge, and curiosity flowed through its streets. Children laughed where fear had once lingered. Leaders debated with honesty and openness. The Velari homeworld, ancient and proud, was no longer trapped by the weight of tradition alone. Above them, the stars continued to shine. And in the quiet light, two figures, one human, one Velari, stood together, partners, guiding not just each other but a future that had once seemed impossible. The galaxy had watched, the galaxy had learned, and humanity, true to form, had proven that even in the vast expanse of the stars, courage, understanding, and partnership could shape the course of civilizations. Elias squeezed Salith's hand gently. "We have done well." And in that quiet moment, the story of a human and an alien, bound by choice, trust, and guidance, became a lesson not only for their civilizations but for the galaxy itself. That strength is not measured by dominance alone, but by the courage to walk together into the unknown.